Hey everyone, this is Andy Melbuff, and in this video we're going to take a look at how we can evaluate and compute things numerically in Desmos Activity Builder by using something called SimpleFunction with the computation layer. There may be times where as math teachers we need Activity Builder to evaluate or compute some particular numerical responses without using necessarily a graphing calculator or a four-function calculator, etc. So what you're looking at on this screen is just simply a note component, and it's got some computation layer built in that will do some evaluating for us. So let's say we wanted to evaluate an expression, and I'm going to highlight this expression here, x squared plus x minus y. So it's a two-variable expression, and I want to have two particular inputs into that. I want x to be 3 and y to be 7. Well, we can put that into the computation layer here in the background. Let's jump in there. What I'm going to do is create a variable, and my variables that I personally use are typically words, but you can also use a single letter. And so my answer variable here is going to take the numeric value of, well, what are we computing? I wanted to compute what was x squared plus x minus y. And I want to put 3 in for x, and I want to put 3 in for this x as well. It's the same one, and then I want to put 7 in for y. So I want to square the 3, add another 3, and subtract 7. So mentally preparing for this, I'm also going to put in this variable right here, and I'm going to insert it there, and let's take a look in preview mode how it looks. So right here is the computation. 5 is the result when I put in 3 for x and 7 for y. Now, advancing a little bit further, what if we want to change the values we're evaluating at? For example, if I keep my same expression right here, x squared plus x minus y, but I want to change what I input for x, and I want to change what I input for y. Well, we can simply go in and just make small, subtle changes in our numeric value. I can put a 4 in here where there was a 3. I can put a 4 in where there was a 3 here, and I can change this to -3. Look how sloppy that looks. But this will work. This evaluates to 23. So I can use the numeric value of a variable's result to evaluate or compute something. But where we're going to run into trouble then, though, is what if we have multiple variations that we want to do? Okay, and I think many of you could see this coming. If we're going to change things frequently, we don't want to keep changing the numeric value. Instead, let's be a little smarter about this. Let's instead represent our expression as a function. So what I want you to see before I even show the computation layer in our next line right here, this is still the same as the previous screen. It should be 23. But watch in the computation layer how we build this. First of all, I'm going to create a variable here, and I chose the variable display because I wanted to display that. And that display variable is going to be equal to SimpleFunction. Notice the camel case there. The second word is capitalized. And then what I want my SimpleFunction to be is something in LaTeX notation. LaTeX means I'm going to enclose in backticks here. It's the mathematical formatting, if you will. So what you see highlighted, enclosed with backticks, is x squared plus x minus y. That's the two-variable expression that we're going to evaluate. Well, since we're evaluating an expression with two possible inputs or arguments or variables, I need to define what those variables are. So I'm going to then, after a comma, here's the first argument, and here's the second argument. Those are again separated with commas. Now I can calculate, or I can actually define that function as x squared plus x minus y, but I need to use it. So then we're going to use dot evaluate at. We're going to put a period, evaluate at, and then we're going to put the specific x and y values we want to use. It looks a lot like an ordered pair with an x coordinate of 4 and a y coordinate of -3. That's the formatting we use. So remember, we should get a value of 23. Let's pop it in preview. There's our 23. Now, if we wished to change our input from 4, -3, we can just simply make that change here. If I change this to 5, for example, 5, 1, and I go to preview, notice we have a different result or computation here of 29. So on screen number 5, we're going to do a quick, short little build along here. I've got a blank screen, nothing there. Let's go ahead and put a note in. And in my note, I want to choose to evaluate something. So I'm going to choose something mathematical. We'll just make this simple. I want to evaluate x plus 7 when x equals 2. Very simple, but I just want you to take a look at the notation that we're going to be using here. So we're going to look for a result of 9 when we put in a 2. But how do we build that in the computation layer? So right now this is not teal colored, so there's no computation layer in here at all. So I need to pick a variable that I want to use, a variable name. Let's go ahead and pick answer. Answer equals, and then I'm going to create a simple function. I just start typing SIM, and there's the only options. There's the function of SimpleFunction, and then I need to choose what my argument's going to be. I'm going to use the backtick symbol. That's the key immediately to the left of the number 1 on a keyboard, and my, okay, I already forgot what we were going to do. That's right, we're going to add 7 to this. So I'm going to go back in here, and after my backtick, I'm going to do x plus 7. I'm going to close the backtick, and then I'm going to put a comma, and what variable inputs, what arguments am I using? Notice here I only have one argument that I'm going to input into, and that's x. So I'll use x enclosed in backticks, and we're ready to go. My little warning symbols go away. And now, where is this answer variable going to display itself? Well, I need to put it into my note, so I'm going to jump down a couple spaces. Oh, I didn't put evaluate at. Sorry about that, folks. That was what caught me, that I couldn't display my variable there. So what are we going to evaluate at? We're going to evaluate at 2. Notice I don't need what looks like an ordered pair here. I just need a single input. So I'm going to put evaluate at 2. Let's see if we can now insert this variable here. There we go. And let's see how it looks in preview mode. There's the 9 we desire. So if we wanted to adjust this to make it for 2 variables, let's go ahead and we'll just tack on a plus 3y at the end. So now we're going to have to make some adjustments. So we're going to have x plus 7 plus 3y. I can make that adjustment here. But now I have a second input, second argument, second variable. Depends on how you want to phrase it. And look at the warning symbol. Okay, it expects 2 arguments because I put in x comma y, but I've only inserted 1 here. So instead, I need 2 of them. And I already forgot what I was inputting. 2 and 1. So I'm going to use 2 comma 1. My warning symbol goes away. We're in good shape. And let's see, let's try it out. First, let's mentally estimate what we're going to get here. If 2 goes in for x, that'll be 9 plus 3. There we go. There's the 12 we need. Now, moving along, the last couple of examples may not be super reasonable looking for creating things with students, because we want students to input things and then for us to compute or calculate. So here's maybe something a little more realistic, even though it's very simplistic, if you will. We want to be able to perform calculations on student inputs and be able to evaluate results of student inputs and compute student inputs. So what if we wanted students to enter 2 integers that have a sum of 10? Super easy peasy to evaluate, but let's take a look in the background what that might look like. What I'm going to do is, here's my variable. I'm being a little weird with this. I'm choosing sum of 10 as my variable name. That's what I want to use. Simple function. And the function is just going to be, I'm adding together two arguments, x plus y, and I defined x and defined y. But notice what's different over here. Evaluate at, these are not specific integers. They need to be defined first. So I did that up here. I'm letting the variable first be the numeric value of input 1a. I'm letting the variable second be the numeric value of input 1b. And so now whatever the student types in will fill in these spots right here. So let's go ahead and check in preview mode. Here's where the result will be displayed. NaN is Activity Builder's way of saying it's undefined right now. I can't display anything for you. And if the student types in 7 and 3, then once there are valid inputs in both of those boxes, 10 will be displayed here. Now the student can change these, and that'll stay the same. In fact, the student can have incorrect responses. But you can see the simple function at work calculating the sum of those two inputs, those two arguments there. So let's go ahead and build along something a little along the lines of that. Here's a blank screen. I might want to add a note for directions, and I maybe want to have, let's just put one math input in just to make it look a little bit different here. Let's say I want to ask students to enter a number that when added to 17 is greater than 50. And now I want to name this input down here. I want to give it a name. I just like to call it input. I don't need to put 1a because there's no other input there. So let's go ahead and create what we want to create here. So I need an answer variable to come up with. And on the previous screen I used sum of 10. On this one I'll go back to, I'll just call it 50. If I could spell 50. And I'm going to make that equal to simple function. Now, what do we want to do with our simple function? Well, I want to see if what the student types in, if when added to 17, if it's greater than 50. So my argument is going to be x plus 17. I'm going to close it in backticks. And how many inputs am I going to have? How many arguments will we ask the student to enter? Just one. So I'm just going to use simply the x there. And I think we are, I need evaluate at. Watch what happens. Warning symbol. I can't just type in input there. Let's read this. Because we have to evaluate at a number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable name. I'll call this answer equals numeric value of input. Now, those of you that worked with computation layer from time to time will run into these problems like, why am I getting an error here? I know I have to use the numeric value of the input. Well, this is a common mistake I make. What I want to do instead is use input.numeric value. The order matters. I got sloppy there with that. Input.numeric value. That assigns the numeric value of whatever the student inputs into the word answer. So answer is now numeric. Notice over here, our variable warning sign went away and we're in good shape. I can go ahead and click done and insert my variable here. And I want to insert 50. Let's try it out. Right now it's undefined. If the student types in 40, There we add 17 to it. That's going to wrap up this video on evaluating and computing numerically using SimpleFunction. Thanks.